Welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna, a place where real stories meet real hope. I'm your host, Johanna Vendel, a published author, speaker, and the CEO and founder of the prestigious International Hope Book Awards. On this podcast, we share powerful stories of faith, resilience, and transformation, conversations with authors, survivors, and changemakers who turned life's hardest moments into purpose. If you're searching for encouragement, healing, or a reminder that your story still matters, then you're in the right place. Press that subscribe button now and don't miss a story. So now, let's welcome your host, Johanna Vendel.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna. Today, I have Melissa Rod in studio, and she's going to tell us all about writing her book and her story behind the book. So let's not wait, and let's introduce Melissa. Hello, Melissa, and welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Melissa, would you like to introduce yourself to my guests?
Sure. So, I'm Melissa Rod, and I live in Texas. I am a retired housewife because after 30 years of being a housewife and a stay-at-home mom to 6 kids, I've now become a published author and speaker. I have 5 wonderful grandsons, and I love to travel and take lots of sunset pictures.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait till I get there, to just say I can now retire and have the time for myself.
Yeah,
I believe that you say that you love going to the wild and that you've been to South Africa before.
that's correct. We've been going to South Africa for actually 28 years now.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yeah.
So you must have been there when I was still in South Africa because I'm in America now for 10 years already.
Yes, definitely.
Incredible. It is surely a beautiful country. Which animal do you like most?
Oh, that's a good question. Uh, you know, actually, South Africa totally spoiled me for zoos. I do not like going to zoos after the first time I went because to see the animals running through the wild is just breathtaking.
Yes.
The- Like a giraffe, you're looking eye level. You have to look up to the top of the trees to see the giraffe because otherwise you're going to miss
Yes.
it. And yeah, they're so cool.
Especially when you have to drive through the park to go find the animals and
Yeah.
then stare at them for a while. For me, I love elephants. They
Yeah,
are my most beautiful animal.
they are. And
Yes.
it's really cool when they fluff their ears, but that's actually a warning. You're getting too close.
Oh, you shouldn't be close to an elephant when they
No,
start to clap their ears. It's
no,
like they're making ready, I'm coming for you.
exactly. It's like, yeah, you're encroaching, go away.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Well, Melissa, you've got an incredible story, and your life started out in ways that you don't want any child to start their life.
No,
Not that you had a bad life because you were
no,
always loved,
yeah,
but would you like to start to tell our guests a little bit about your story and the story about your behind your book?
sure. So, oh, where to begin? Um, so I did not know my birth father growing up. My mom had divorced him when I was little, and he was out of the picture. I had a wonderful stepfather growing up who adopted me, but that still left a hole and a need to know where I came from and why my birth father left and what about me was unlovable that he didn't want to be around, because that's how I looked at it. So I found him, got to know him. It was interesting. I didn't miss much by him not being around. Um, and after a short period of time, he passed away. And so I grieved all the what could have been and all that. And about 12 years after his death, I was working on his family tree. And I couldn't find anything about his mother. And I pulled out a folder that I had of stuff that I had on him, like newspaper clippings and his birth certificate, his death certificate, his military discharge papers. Well, his military discharge paperwork listed his blood type. So in high school, in ninth grade in Texas, you learn blood typing. I knew what mine was. Let me say that I knew what mine was really well because it took me 3 times to pass that semester of biology. I'm not good at science. And I knew what my mom's blood type was. So when I saw his, I knew that he could not be my father. It was a biological impossibility. So I called my mom. And because of who he was, I was okay with this. We did not have a close relationship. He was not a wonderful man. It did not break my heart in any way, shape, or fashion that he was not my father. So I was actually laughing when I asked my mom. And she doubled down and said I was switched at birth. And yeah. And she stuck to that for a while. So I played detective to find out who my father was. And that's the basis of my book, The Daddy Files.
Yes, my
And
goodness. I read your book and I just shook my head like now, I can't believe that a mom will keep these things from you, except if she really, really doesn't know, because you don't know your mom before you
right.
were pregnant. She was
Yeah,
pregnant, you
exactly.
don't know if she maybe had 1 or 2 men in her life, and now she
Yeah,
doesn't know who the real father is, and she maybe really didn't know, so
yeah. I gave her multiple options to choose from. I said, I don't care how I was conceived. I said it could have been a one night stand. It could have been a married man. There was multiple options that I gave her. I said, I don't care because I wouldn't be here if it hadn't happened. So I'm not going to judge.
yes.
Don't care. And that was a long time ago. At the time, I was 45, so it would have been 45 years before. And
Sure.
but no, yeah.
Because you were thinking that this one person that she told you was your dad all the time.
Hmm.
Um, Tell us how you went through your investigation to find out that he wasn't your real dad.
Well, like I said, I was working on his family tree when I saw his blood type. So then to find out who was, since she didn't give me a name or any place to start, I started at the beginning. She moved from Texas to Montana, which was conceived, and Texas is where all her family was. Well, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri. So I asked, why'd you move? And she told me. And so I proceeded to track down her high school boyfriend. And from 1967. Well, that's long before social media. So it's not quite as easy as you would imagine. And I found him. I talked to him on the phone, and he had me on speaker with his wife there. And it was a very interesting conversation, very educational. Um, I ended up talking to his nephew, who it was thought could potentially be my brother. And his father had already just passed away. So I drove to Amarillo one day and we did a DNA test. And Amarillo is not a short jaunt from where I live in Texas. It's like an 8+ hour drive. So I drove up, we had dinner and visited and did the DNA test. And I drove home the next day.
Yes,
So,
because I'm sure he also he was told that you are his child or he has a child,
yes,
um, and was also not sure, maybe, that's why
yeah,
he wasn't with her,
right. Well, yeah, yeah. Danny, I don't think he knew. That's the one who ended up being my father. He was never. When I finally found who my father was and met his family, I don't think he ever knew. So,
Oh, my
and
goodness.
he was already dead by the time I found him, but his
Oh,
family has been amazing. So, or my family has been amazing.
good, good. So now you have found an extended family who is actually your blood family, and you can connect. Do you see yourself in some of your family members there?
I do. I look like my aunt, his sister, and some of my mannerisms are just like his from what I've been told. And my youngest son is the spitting image of him and his brother,
Oh,
who are
oh,
both gone. So
oh.
it's really cool.
Ugh, that is so sad, that you didn't get the opportunity to actually meet him.
Yeah, it is, but I kind of did. God gave me a very wonderful gift. Before I found out what his name was or who he was, God gave me a dream where I got to meet him in heaven. So
Oh, that's amazing. Have you done any DNA tests on the family, one or two members of the family on that side to make sure that this is now the correct DNA?
actually, my aunt, when we met, Elaine told me that she wanted me to do that, not because she questioned, but she didn't want me to ever have to question again. And she didn't want me to
Oh,
have doubts. So,
that is sweet. That is so, so nice to hear. And by the end of the day, it is a happy ending to your story.
it is.
You can stop worrying and stop wondering, because
Mhm.
imagine you were how old when you started to have these feelings like your dad wasn't your dad?
Well, when I was little, I was always looking and always wondering who my father was because he wasn't around. And then I found him, got to know him and all that. And then once he was gone and I found out it wasn't him, I had all the same questions again. So
Yes.
it, yeah, it was, and that was when I was 45. So here I was living it all over again. And yeah, it was really nice to get all the questions answered. And I realized that even though I was searching the whole time for the father that I wanted here on earth, God was there with me the whole time. And he was always my dad. And he was always there holding me and walking with me through everything. I just
Yes.
wasn't all,
And sometimes it's not the dad who bears your DNA that
yeah.
sometimes is your dad.
Hmm.
Sometimes it is the man who really raised you and loved you as a daughter,
Hmm. True.
Is he still in your life?
Yeah. The dad who raised me, in fact, he just turned 80 and we had a party for
Oh,
him. And yeah, he's awesome.
oh, sweet. That
In
is so
fact,
sweet.
he's got 5 biological daughters that are younger than me. And he says that I'm his favorite, that he chose me, that the rest were just because he
Given.
had them. Yeah. But that I'm the chosen one. So
Oh,
funny.
because he chose to be with your mom, with
Yeah.
you. Oh, that is so nice. You see, that is when you really feel loved and cared for, and that you are important in someone else's life.
Yeah. Yes, it
Oh,
is.
it is just such a touchy story
Hmm.
when you think about when you were little and you had to go through all those emotions. You had to go through school with wondering all the time, and then only being 45 years old and getting to know that you actually now have a real dad eventually, and meeting the rest of your family. That is
Mhm.
incredible, you know.
Yeah, it really was.
Wow. Well, and then you decided to write a book about it. When did you decide to do that?
Oh, yeah.
So then eventually you decided to write a book. When did that happen? When did you feel that now is the time to write a book, and what inspired you to do that?
Well, I was sharing my story with people because they would ask, and I would invariably hear, "Oh, I know somebody who has a similar story," and then they would put me in touch with them. Or I would meet somebody and share what I was going through, and they were always so thankful that I was willing to share, and I was so open and honest about all the different emotions I was going through because they felt like they were the only one going through something similar. And they said it was so nice to know they weren't alone. And the more I heard it, I felt like God was telling me, you need to write, you need to share because there's others out there that need to know they're not alone. And that's when I decided to write it.
Wow, that is interesting to know when someone actually decide when to write and pick up a pen or start to type some letters on a computer, and it turns out to be a book, you know. Do you like to write when you go to the wilderness?
I do. It's although I've discovered I can pretty much write anywhere. I can write in a busy airport, but I do love when I'm on the beach and there's nobody around me, or if I'm out in the wilderness of South Africa and it's just watching the different animals go by or the birds land around me. It is so peaceful and it's like my soul gets full and I don't worry about distractions, and it's like he can talk to me and I know what I'm supposed to say.
Yes, yes, no, definitely. It's really nice when you're out there and you can just breathe in the air and
Yeah.
say, you know, this is just make your it makes your mind just go and relaxed, and that's when
Mhm.
most of your thoughts come so clear, you know.
That's what I was
Um,
it clears and there's no busyness. There's nothing to distract and yeah.
that's nice. That's nice. So you entered the book awards a while ago,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken, and you want to tell us what you won?
Oh, I was afraid you were gonna say that because I drew a total blank right as you asked. I could not remember what it was. I've got them sitting over there on my shelf because I wanna get framed to hang them on the wall, but I just couldn't remember what they were.
Well, you won the best faith-based self-help book of renewal and inspiration, and also the most inspirational book cover.
Yes. I thought that was pretty cool
Yes.
about the book cover too.
Yes. It is quite interesting book cover. The fact that you just have a shadow there, and it says a lot. It you just look at it and you're like, the Daddy Files, what's this about?
Yeah.
And then you also a finalist for Author of the Year 2026. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's crazy.
Have you entered any book book award before?
Actually, yours was the second one I had entered. And the other one that I had entered before was Kingdom Book Awards, which I
Oh,
just got back from Pittsburgh from winning that one. And so it was,
that's incredible.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, your story definitely touched people's hearts. I can definitely tell you if anyone wants to buy Melissa's book and read this story, it is available on Amazon, and it is an incredible story. It makes your head shakes and you think, what? That something like that can really happen in someone's life, you know?
Yeah. I've always joked that my life is better than any soap opera. I don't need to watch them because they are boring. And this book is definitely a prime example because it's got a few
Definitely.
turns.
It's definitely not boring. So where did you take this picture? Was that somewhere?
It's actually a park about 15, 20 minutes from my house. One of my
It is
girl,
really pretty.
one of my girlfriends is a professional photographer, and we did it there. So
Wow. This
this
really gets your features out beautifully,
thanks.
and you've got beautiful curly hair.
Thanks.
Well, Melissa, is there anything that you would like to tell our viewers about your story and about what they should do if something like this happened to them? There's maybe a 12, 13-year-old out there that has the same feeling as you.
Ooh, God's always there. He's just waiting for us to reach out for him. He never he never leaves us. He never abandons us. He loves us no matter what we do. He always forgives us. And he always gives us second chances and third and fourth. And we need to forgive others. That's one of the things I had to do is forgive, because whether my mom knew and deliberately didn't tell me or she didn't know, I had to forgive her. And
Yes.
if I couldn't forgive her, then how did I expect God to ever forgive me? So,
Definitely. Well, I remember when I had to forgive my mom and my one sister at a time in my life.
mhm,
And first, I had to also sort things out in my life and get to know that God is in my life.
yeah,
Then everything just started to get better from there on. And eventually I wrote letters to them,
uh-huh,
and I also told them how much they have hurt me in the past. And I told my mom how much it felt like she wasn't part of my life. And when I then did that, I promise you, it was so much better going to them, sitting down with them, having a cup of coffee, and just being together there again,
right,
as a family. So sometimes it is good to go and apologize or go and forgive people that has done you wrong, because only then you can move forward in life and be happy again. Because
right,
when something like that is bothering you in your heart and your soul and your mind, you cannot go on because that's always there. So you
mhm,
need to get rid of it, to
yeah,
say, Now I can breathe in the fresh air again, and now I can breathe in life again and enjoy life to the fullest,
Right.
after just
Mhm.
saying, I forgive you. It lightens life so much.
It does. And it's really, and it's not even necessarily for them. It's for you.
It's for you. That's exactly what I meant, by you have to forgive someone. And sometimes when you do go and say, I forgive you for everything you do, they are maybe not in the right mind yet. And
Yes.
what will their response be? Their response will be, you don't have to forgive me for anything. I
Yeah.
didn't do anything. And you're
Uh-huh.
like, you know what? I just want to forgive you for everything you did. I know what you did in my life,
Yeah.
and you can sort everything out, but I'm done now. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm moving forward.
Exactly.
They can start to sort out their lives and whatever um, they know, because eventually they can't hide anything from God. You
That's
know, they can hide something from themselves and
mhm.
make you look bad all the time, but they cannot hide it
Yeah.
from God. And as
Exactly.
soon as they realize it, eventually they come back. I had someone coming back after a few years and say, you know what? I accept your forgiveness because I realized that I was in the wrong and that
Mhm.
we could have been good friends for a long time. And I miss your friendship in my life.
Yeah.
It's tough when you
Mhm.
have to go to someone to do that, or and
Yeah.
especially a family member.
Exactly.
So is your mom still in your life?
Yes, she is. Yep.
Good, good. And
She lives
what did she say when you found out who your real dad was?
um, well, when I told her originally that Alan wasn't my father, she was like, made the comment that I must have been switched at birth. And then she was
That
like,
is
yeah,
so
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So when I found out who was my father, I didn't tell her at first. In fact, my dad that raised me was with me when I found out. So he knew immediately. He was the first person who found out that I knew who it was. And it was about 2 weeks later, and I still hadn't said anything to mom because I wasn't sure how I was going to or what exactly. I hadn't done it yet. And we were on the phone one day, and she goes, so I hear you know his name. I said, yeah. She goes, well, what is it? And I told her it was Danny. She goes, I always called him Dan. And I'm like,
And then you're like, why have you just never told me? What
yeah.
did you say about that?
I didn't. I just let it go. So,
Oh, that is unbelievable. So the little bit of time that
mhm.
you thought now that, oh my word, maybe I was switched. How did that affect your life?
um, I really didn't believe that, but for maybe, excuse me, but for maybe um, 5 minutes or so, it was like, well, maybe. And then it was like, no, I did tell her though that the fact that she would rather I believed that and that I would lose all of my family. I would lose her as my mom. I would lose my youngest sister as my sister. I would lose Granny and Granddaddy, all my aunts, uncles. I would lose my whole family,
Hmm.
not just Alan and his side of the family, but I'd lose her side, everybody I grew up with. I would lose my full
Yes.
identity. That hurt more than anything. After I broke down and told her that, then that was on a Friday that she and I had that conversation, a Friday night. Then on the Monday when I saw her again, she was like, okay, you weren't switched at birth. This is, yeah. So,
I'm sure that must have felt good to know that you were not switched at birth and that she is your mom.
yeah.
Did you actually do DNA tests to
Good.
see if your mom was really your mom
Yeah.
Like, because I would have done it.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I knew she was, but let's cover our bases. Let's make sure.
And it is just incredible because now you feel that you can actually just move on with your life. I'm sure
Yeah.
the world has been lifted from your shoulders after all the truth came out.
Oh, definitely. That is a great way to put it.
Yes.
Much lighter.
Oh, definitely. Well, Melissa, it was surely nice to speak to you today about your book. And again, if anyone would like to purchase her book, please go and get it on Amazon. Do you have a website address where they can find you if they want to personally get in contact with you and buy directly, maybe? Or
I
is
do.
it only on Amazon?
No, I also have a website and they can order it from me and I will autograph it and ship it off to them. And that's melissajeanrod.com. Super easy.
Okay. melissajeanrod.com.
Yep.
Good. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate you coming to tell your story and sharing your story with me today.
It was totally my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Well, that was Melissa Roth. And like I said earlier, there's a lot in her book that you still would like to read about her investigation of how she investigated to find out who her real father is. I am Johanna Vendel, and this is Give Me Hope with Johanna. If you have a story to tell, please reach out to me and come share it, because here we share stories that is deep and that comes from the heart. And yes, may everyone be blessed for the week, and we will be back next week.